Welcome to Everyday Enlightenment. I'm your host, Patty Teal, and I'm coming to you today from Sedona Mago Retreat, a 163-acre spiritual retreat center in the high desert of magical Sedona, Arizona. Today's guest is a favorite, holistic healer, researcher, and chemist, I forgot to add, environmentalist, Anthony, i.e. Tony Mauro. Welcome, Tony.
Welcome to you, Patty, and I'm glad to be on your show today.
Well, it's really nice to have you back, and thanks for all the work that you do and how passionate you are about helping to warn us about various carcinogens that are so commonplace in today's society.
Yes, in fact, what happened was recently I got involved with the California OEHHA, which is the Proposition 65 Health and Assessment Group, on listing glyphosate, which is used in Roundup and other herbicides, as a carcinogen. And that happened in March of this year, March 28th, in fact. That was very significant because Monsanto, who's the manufacturer of the product, was suing the state of California and trying to keep it in court for 8 years. Michelle Robinson, who is one of the leaders of the OEHH, reached a point in which she just took it on her own and she listed it. In fact, I can't reach her anymore, so I have a funny feeling she's not there anymore. But that's a listing. The issue with glyphosate is that my dog, Ling, died of it, lymphoma cancer. My dog, Gus, basically had it, and he ended up with bone marrow edema and had to get part of his leg amputated because of it. He has some serious problems with his liver and his bladder, in which he can't eat any kind of normal foods. And that's the other issue with these carcinogens, that they also cause problems that we don't recognize and see it as cancer, but it causes us problems that are just as severe. His issue, and in fact I had the same issue, is that my liver will not break down fats. Simple as that. And because of it, with Gus, if I give him a dime-sized piece of chicken skin, within 15, 20 minutes, he'll have massive diarrhea, squirting diarrhea, because his liver can't break it down. And that's the other issue with carcinogens. It's that you can get other actions on it before they really take hold. Now, talking about carcinogens, most people probably don't understand it, and I'm going to try to put it in more simple terms. A carcinogen really is an item that mutates the DNA structure of our skin cells. It's like taking something and affecting your brain, and your brain basically can't function anymore. The brain basically does a lot of stuff, does a lot of cognitive stuff that you know about, but it also, it runs your lungs, and it runs your heart, and it runs your liver, and it runs stuff like that that you don't even recognize as running. What does, when people get Alzheimer's, what do they die of? Most people don't understand that. They die of the brain can't operate those items anymore. So those items start functioning, and that's how they die. That's in a way what happens to the DNA. The DNA gets mutated by these carcinogens, and the DNA can no longer function as the brain of the cell. When it can't function as the brain of the cell doesn't know what to do anymore. So the cell basically says, okay, I'm going to just, since I don't know what to do, and I don't know my purpose anymore, I'm going to create my own purpose. And that's what cancer is. Cancer is an immortal cell that only knows one thing, how to reproduce itself and grow and grow and grow until it takes over the whole body and it kills the body, and that's how it kills itself. That's what the worst part of a carcinogen is. Right now, what I've done, this morning I was on the phone with the American Cancer Society trying to get the new updated list of the carcinogens. The list I have dates back a while, and there's like over 800 of them on my list, and I'm sure there's much more on their list. So they're going to be sending me information on it in the next probably 2 weeks. So I'll have more of an understanding of the carcinogens. The other thing I talk to them about is, do they get involved with like the state of California, where it's Proposition 65 Health and Assessment Group has listed a whole bunch of carcinogens, and I get from them on a weekly basis the new carcinogens. Let me give you an example of a recent one. Styrene. I think you all understand styrene. What is the foam cups you drink your coffee out of? They're nothing but styrene blown up with oxygen, right? That styrene is also used for packaging all your food products and et cetera. So all you need is roughly 35 micrograms of styrene that gets into your food, that gets into you. That is a carcinogen. It can mutate the DNAs. That's something that you all know of and you understand. The glyphosate in the herbicide Roundup is really massively bad. I checked the average usage of Roundup in the United States. Over 150 million gallons of it is used and spread across the United States. That is really substantial. Most of the other carcinogens, if you look at them, are very minor. They're minor, like benzenes and toluenes and TCE. You're lucky if you're talking about 10 gallons of them. I stopped the Army Corps of Engineers from using it here in the Riverside area, where they were going to use 200 gallons per acre, and I stopped that before it was classified. And the way I stopped it was I just told the biologist, who was a young, beautiful lady that was getting married, that if she wants to have any children, she better take a look at what it does. And she stopped using it, even though she had to go against what they wanted to do. It's that type of thing that is really so important. 150 million gallons. Think about that number.
Tony, now that it's listed as a carcinogen, or is that just in the state of California, or I'm a little confused, or is it listed where everyone can find it?
No, it's listed in the state of California on the OEHHA, and what I did is talk to the American Cancer Society today and asked them about their tie-in to Proposition 65 in California, and they said they are tied into it, which made me feel good. So I'm hoping that it gets listed to the American Cancer Society, and because of that listing, other states will start picking it up and actually put it in their state. And that's what I'm hoping happens. Right now I'm working with Texas and I'm working with Florida myself, getting people down there to say, hey, wait a minute, state, here's what happened. Here's the listing. If you want the data, you don't have to go get the data. You can get it from California. So I'm doing that. Right now, it's not listed any place other than here in California.
I see. But it's a little complicated, isn't it? Because even though it's listed in the state of California, it sounds like it's still being used widely.
Yes, it's being used totally widely. And what happens is the worst thing is that, well, we basically looked at it classically in which is the most uses, and the most used up was Roundup herbicide. I went and checked the other herbicides, and of the other 20 herbicides I checked, at least 15 of them had glyphosate in it, which was just as bad. And I'm sitting down saying and the reason why it causes cancer is because that's the way it kills the weeds. What I'm doing with my own city, which I'm really upset at, my city, is that they came to me and they said, well, and I spent 2 hours with them last week explaining this, and I went to a whole tutorial on DNA and how it does it and everything else like that. And what they're doing is they're going to meet with me in 2 weeks, and they want me to show them a holistic way of killing the weeds. And I could do that. I understand how to do it, and I'll do that. And they're going to run tests on it and stuff like that. I said, I'm confused about what you're telling me. You, the city of Norco, are more concerned about the weeds than cancer with the people.
Oh, my gosh. And that's basically what it is. I thought we were protected when someone or the government knew that something was a carcinogen, that then it no longer would end up on our shelves at the grocery stores or hardware stores, but that's not the case.
No, it's not the case. Let me give you a big one. Here in California, I uncovered, this was back in 1999, two basic problems. One was trichloroethylene, TCE, that came out of Wiley Labs that was real bad. The government had looked at it on the basis of contamination of the water supply. And the issue was not that. The issue was, yes, that's a problem, but also it was a vaporization of it out of the water supply, up the ground, into houses. So I worked on it. I was on a CAG committee for 10 years, getting them to recognize it. We actually got rid of the TCE that was created by Wiley Labs. And basically, TCE is a solvent used for taking oils off machine parts, and it got into the ground. We got half of the 400 acres cleaned, but the other half of the 400 acres is going to take probably another 10 years to clean up. So the stuff is still coming up into the houses. This is now over 10, 15 years that's been going on. The government of our country has just recognized TCE as a carcinogen and is saying it's going to stop it from being used in the United States like it did DDT.
Wow, but they're 15 years behind.
Yes, more than 15 years behind, because it'll probably take another 15 years before they ever get to it. I think the EPA and the FDA is a piece of junk. They really don't do anything. Now, when you take glyphosate, right, and Roundup, 27 countries other than the United States banned the use of it. 27 countries, did you say? Yes, banned the use of it because of it. And we're supposed to be, this great United States, we're supposed to be the ones that really do everything right. No, we're not. There's a city in California that 2 years ago, before this was listed, right? Irvine, I don't know, you probably know of Irvine.
In Orange County, yes.
Yes, I got them to ban the use of it.
Oh, good for you, Tony.
They banned the use of it, and I go down there maybe once every 2 months now and teach them how to use the holistic way of killing the weeds. And it's unbelievable. And plus, it costs significantly less. A gallon of Roundup costs about $20 to $30. The stuff I get them to use costs a couple of dollars.
Oh, my gosh. So, Tony, what can we do, we little people that are listening to the show, can we do to make a difference?
One of the things you can do is, if you look at where you work, where you live, the way to really basically understand pretty well that they're using it is take a look at their lawns. If they're nice and green and there's no weeds, right? Mm-hmm. There's a good chance they're using it. Okay, and just ask them if they're using it, right? And then what you got to do is inform them of the issue, okay, and what the problem is. And the first thing they're going to do is say to you, well, what do I, because here's what they said to me, how do I solve my weed problem? And I look at them saying, okay, you got a choice between weeds and cancer. So, okay, now I'll tell you how you solve your weed problem. So I give them a formula on how to solve the weed problem, on what they could do, which is significantly cheaper. The other thing that's important is I came up with a detox program for you and me and people who understand they're getting contaminated. I measure the glyphosate in urine after the program to make sure you get it out of you. And I know how to get it out. The poor animals, I feel bad. In this Norco area, I didn't check all the areas, the dogs from the Norco hospital, 50% of the dogs under 8 die of cancer. 85% over 8 die of cancer. My dog Ling died of cancer. It got into her lymph nodes and caused lymphoma cancer, and she died in 7 weeks.
I'm really sorry, because I know our pets are like our family. They are our family, so I'm so sorry.
Well, I know the owner of the Norco Animal Hospital, who's got 2 of them, right? And I know the people down there. Mm-hmm. And I went to them and I gave them all kinds of information. I told them I'll talk to every one of your vets, and they got probably 10, 15 different vets, and explain to them what it is. And I was in there just yesterday, and I said to them, why are you not notifying all your customers about it? And I looked at them, and they looked at me like, and I said, I'm getting to the point, starting to believe that you want them to have it so that you have business. They do all kinds of biopsies. They do this. They have chemotherapy specialists that treat dogs. I said, well, what about Ling? Ling was 8 years old. They said, well, if we do the chemo, she might last another 3 months. I'm not going to let that happen to her. I love her too much. People just don't understand. The other thing, we are a horse town. We got 20,000 people, 20,000 horses. I don't know if you ever heard of vermiculite, which is in the horse's foot, right? And what happened is a soft bone in there that kind of gets corroded, and the horse goes lame. And guess what they do with the horse when it goes lame? They put it down. I'm convinced that the glyphosate's in there doing it. I haven't proved it, but I'm convinced of it. I'm getting disgusted with people because, well, I get another horse. I say, wait a minute, you get another horse. You know, it's
well, definitely, I can see that you are fighting an uphill battle, and so of course I can see where your frustration comes in. Now, you mentioned that you have developed a program where people can detox. Maybe have you developed it for animals as well? And how does this program work, and how would we find out about it?
Give me a call on my number, 951-734-9778, and my email, apmone@yahoo.com. I really need to talk to them a little bit about their exposure, and I could correct the detox specifically for them. It's easy detox. I created a website, ehealthme.com, EHEALTH, me, right, one word, .com. If you're using any kind of over-the-counter or prescription drugs, you can put it in there and it'll tell you all the side effects. People can do that. I can help them in the area of the detox. And the other thing I've been interested in is like where they live, what their environment's in. Let them find out what the other carcinogens in their area is, so I could help them with the whole program and not just on the glyphosate. But the problem with the glyphosate is most likely they're getting hit with it. The other thing they're doing is they're spraying the crops with it. Our beautiful government, our FDA and EPA, allowed them to spray the crops 2 years ago. They're spraying all the wheat crops, the corn crops, the cotton crops, and let me tell you what I think I told you what the cotton crops. The cotton crops they're spraying, guess where they're using a lot of that cotton? In tampons. The cervix cancer rates are skyrocketing.
That's horrifying. Now, Tony, you say this detox is simple.
I could give you some details right now. You use a liquid zeolite, which is a clay compound that's in the liquid stage that gets into your bloodstream and attracts the glyphosate. You get your sulfur levels up high, and I can show you what you got to do to get your sulfur levels up high. And the big thing you need, which you'll love to do, you want to do infrared sauna. And what the infrared sauna does, because a lot of this stuff, what happens is it ties up into your fatty tissue. And so you got to sweat it out. So if you're very obese, you're going to have a problem. Lifestyle-wise, make sure your percent fats is low. Mm-hmm. And make sure your BMI is down around 22, 21. And the problem with the United States is how many people are not obese with a BMI over 30? Not many. Your health is your responsibility, people. It's your responsibility. And what you need to do is you need to be aware of it, aware of what can bother your health, aware of what's going on. I give courses now in chemistry, organic chemistry, and biology. I just gave a course just 2 days ago to a fellow who got a master's in biology, and he didn't know what the hell he was doing. The education system is junk. It really is. It's junk. Right. And what happens is, here's a guy with a master's degree in biology. He didn't understand it. I had to now, DNA is relatively new. Understanding DNA, you know how they want to identify you, right? They do DNA analysis. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's relatively new. But people don't understand how DNA works. I'm doing epigenetics, right? Understanding how the DNA works, how the DNA gets mutated. A friend of mine, Joanna, who's a biologist from Australia, by the way. That's where they teach biology. And she's got a master's in ecology. We're doing a total tutorial on the DNA, the mutation of DNA, and the immune system, right? And what's happening is we're going after stuff like Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, and all this stuff here. And the DNA is, the key on DNA is, I was talking to the Cancer Society today. I said, sorry guys, you've been trying to find a cure for cancer for how many years? Yeah. I said, there's no cure for cancer. What there is a prevention to stop it from happening. And what's happening is the cancer rates are skyrocketing because you're not working on the prevention.
But let's say it's too late for someone and they didn't prevent it and it occurs. Would you say stem cell replacement is a good option?
If you got cancer? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, stem cells potentially is a good option. Let me tell you, my eye problem, right? I had.
But why don't you tell our listeners?
I had in 2009. I went blind with macular degeneration. I couldn't see. My acuity was 2800, in which you lose your license at 2200. I could see nothing but big black spots in front of my eyes. And I worked on it, and I worked on it with the Kaiser people, the retinologists. But I also, and they were giving me injections in my eye, anti-angiogenesis injections, because I had the wet macula. And I also went and did microcurrent, my own microcurrent and chemical treatment of the eyes. What happened recently is that I got to the point where, and this is documented, I'm 1 in 25,000 that got better. Everybody else just doesn't get worse real bad, and they hope they die before they go blind, right? They put me on a program. I went across the nation for a year and a half teaching people with a retinologist and a researcher on what they can do for their macular and macular problems. Now, what happened was I kept doing stuff. I have a new retinologist, Dr. Howe, who is also a PhD in chemistry and pharmaceuticals, who I could talk to with no trouble, because most of the doctors I can't talk to because they don't know their chemistry and biology. I hate to say that, but they don't. And what happened was that I started understanding it, and all of a sudden, a gigantic light bulb opened to me 2 years ago. And the gigantic light bulb was the major cause of the macular is blue light from the sky, right, plus toxins. And I got rid of that. And what I did was, and listen to this, I said, okay, if that's true, that's just like cancer, right? And it is. It's a cancer of the eye. And what I did was that's why I don't have my computer here anymore, because I didn't want the Wi-Fi. I didn't want the EMF. I didn't want the RF. I got rid of all that, and I basically wear in my hats, I wear this mesh that stops the stuff from getting into my brain and into my eyes. I am now going on the second year with no treatment. No treatment. Second year with no treatment, in which I went for 6 years with treatment every 4 weeks, right? He basically, I was with him 2 weeks ago, and he basically said, there's something miraculous happened. I said, what? He says, your stem cells are rebuilding the cones and rods of your macula.
That is pretty amazing, Tony.
It's understanding that DNA thing, you know?
Right. Well, I wish we had more time. I always run out of time when I'm talking to you, and I think we need to have an entire show on the eye problems that you discussed, especially as people age. It becomes such a common problem for one's vision to get worse and worse, and I know so many people would want to hear more about it. So perhaps sometime we could have you back on to talk about that if you would be so kind.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, what's happening is they call it AMD, age macular degeneration. Take the A and throw it away. It's happening to the smaller people.
Wow.
It's because it is a carcinogen. Now,
right.
When you think about the age part, it's because the only reason we age is because we build up toxins in us. It's not 1 and 1 is 2. It's 1 and 1 is 15. It's an exponential buildup of toxins, right? And
yeah.
So that's the only reason.
Yeah, you've mentioned that before, how it's the accumulation of many things in our environment. But Tony, I'm going to have to say goodbye for now. I do want to tell our audience, I can imagine them thinking, I wonder how much it costs to get help or advice from Tony. And you are really just doing this at this point, just out of the goodness of your heart, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So give Tony a call, and he'll really try to help you with any problems you may have, and try to figure out, not how to mask the problems with medication, but what really, really might help you to recover and what is causing the problem.
Yes,
so,
and also other things. I have 2 people up in Santa Barbara right now. This one fellow had, I don't know if you ever heard of it, his ears ring so loud, it's not tinnitus, it's more than tinnitus, that he can't go into a restaurant because the noise is like having his head in a bell and the bell being sounded.
How horrible. That would be so annoying.
Yeah, well, not annoying, it's literally hurts. I mean,
literally anguish, yeah.
Yeah, it hurts. I got him to the point, he called me yesterday and said, I went into a restaurant and it was okay.
Oh, well, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and it's stuff like that. So there's other areas that I can help.
Yeah.
But this here carcinogens and this issue with the cancer. And you remember I said it's not just cancer; it's all the other things. I'm right now working with I think I told you, I'm working with my granddaughter, 26-year-old, right, that just had congestive heart failure. And I got to understand her better, And right now I'm being quiet. That's all I can say. But,
right. Yes. Well, you're very inquisitive, and you're determined to get to the bottom of things. So I'm going to have to say goodbye right now, Tony, but would you close by giving your contact information once again?
Yes. My phone number is 951-734-9778, and my email is A like in Anthony, P like in Patrick, M like in Mary, O like in Omegon, N like in Nick, E like in Epsilon @yahoo.com. That's APMONE @yahoo.com. And I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. I so appreciate all that you're doing to help mankind, really. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye now.